A few months ago, a rumor started moving through Hollywood gossip circles. Tom Holland had quietly built what people were calling a pregnancy pause clause into his contract, a legal mechanism that would let him step back from work the moment Zendaya needed him. The internet loved it. It felt like the most romantic thing a movie star could do. Those reports remain unverified. No lawyer confirmed them. Nobody has seen the document. But here's what matters: it sounded completely believable. And the reason it sounded believable is the story. Because in Hollywood, love isn't just a feeling, it's a line item. For nearly a century, the private lives of the biggest stars in the world have been managed, structured, and controlled by legal language buried deep inside contracts most people will never read. Today, we're reading them. What if the most romantic thing a celebrity could do for their partner wasn't a grand gesture, but a clause buried on page 47 of a legal document? Modern celebrities aren't just individuals. They're corporations. And when two of them get married, the prenuptial agreement, the legal contract signed before a wedding, isn't really about love. It's an operating agreement between two competing brands. Start with Beyoncé and Jay-Z. According to reporting from People in the TMZ legal desk, the couple updated their financial arrangement with a post-nuptial amendment in 2008. That's a contract revision signed after the wedding. Inside that amendment, a reported infidelity liquidated damages clause, a set dollar figure assigned to cheating. The number reported is $25 million. That clause didn't end the marriage. It funded Lemonade, a billion-dollar creative project built directly on documented betrayal. The contract didn't protect the marriage. It turned the damage into an asset. Can a legal document actually make cheating profitable? Apparently, yes, if you're Beyoncé. Gisele Bündchen and Tom Brady took a different approach. Their reported prenup included a retirement clock, a provision tied directly to Brady stepping away from football, designed to guarantee Gisele the family time she'd been asking for. When Brady retired and then unretired, the clause didn't repair anything. It became evidence, a paper record of the exact moment the marriage stopped working. Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes present a different kind of architecture altogether. The 2012 Manhattan Family Court Settlement Memo, specifically Section 7, contains reported provisions around Scientology exit logistics and a financial structure of roughly $3 million per year. Holmes didn't simply file for divorce. She spent months planning a covert operation, changing phones, retaining lawyers outside the Church of Scientology's reach, coordinating custody strategy in secret. She filed and had a settlement within 11 days. That speed wasn't luck. It was preparation. Nicole Kidman and Keith Urban included a sobriety floor, a financial penalty tied to relapse. It was written to protect assets. What it may have actually done is give Urban a structural reason to stay in recovery. The clause meant to protect money ended up protecting a person. Every one of these agreements was drafted by someone who believed they could predict the future of a marriage. None of them could. If this investigation is the kind of content you want more of, subscribing takes 2 seconds, and it keeps this archive running. Here's a question nobody asks when they sign a prenup. What happens when the contract outlives the marriage, but the law doesn't care? The clauses in Act 1 were written by people with power. They had lawyers, time, and leverage to negotiate. What follows is different. These are legal machines with no off switch. Khloe Kardashian and Lamar Odom signed a prenuptial agreement that, on paper, looked standard. Asset protection, financial separation, the usual architecture. But buried inside it was a medical proxy provision. A medical proxy is a legal designation. It gives one person the authority to make health decisions for another when that person can't speak for themselves. In October 2015, Odom collapsed at a Nevada resort. He was unconscious. The doctors needed someone to authorize treatment. That person, legally, was Khloe Kardashian. At the time she was called to that hospital, she was actively pursuing divorce. The paperwork was already in motion. And yet the contract pulled her back. Not emotionally, legally. Her signature on a document from years earlier now controlled what happened in that hospital room. Your signature outlives your love. That's not a metaphor, that's a clause. Would you want your ex-spouse making your life or death medical decisions? Most people never consider it. These contracts do, Britney Spears married Sam Asghari in June 2022, and the prenup she filed with Ventura County wasn't a standard asset protection document. It was a legal reaction, written specifically in response to a conservatorship she'd spent 13 years trying to escape. A conservatorship is a legal arrangement where a court gives another person control over someone's finances and personal decisions. Spears had lived under one, controlled by her father, from 2008 onward. Her prenup with Asghari was called a freedom shield, designed to guarantee that no future spouse could ever gain institutional control over her life again. A legal declaration of independence written into a marriage contract. The marriage lasted 13 months. The Freedom Shield didn't prevent the collapse. What it did was add another document to a long paper trail of institutions trying to define the boundaries of her life. Even the contract, meant to mark her freedom, became another record of how carefully that freedom had to be negotiated. Can a Freedom Shield actually protect someone who has been controlled for 13 years? The answer, it turns out, is complicated. Justin Timberlake and Jessica Biel took the more transactional approach. According to data compiled by the American Academy of Matrimonial Lawyers, a professional organization that tracks trends in family law cases, their prenup included a $500,000 infidelity penalty. Think about what that number actually means. It isn't a deterrent. A deterrent creates fear of consequence. A price list creates a different calculation entirely. How much is this worth to me? At a combined net worth of roughly $248 million, $500,000 is less than 0.25%. The clause didn't make cheating impossible. It made cheating affordable, documented, and priced. Kim Kardashian and Kanye West tried something more ambitious. Their agreement reportedly included a public persona clause, a provision designed to legally constrain erratic public behavior that could damage the Kardashian brand. It didn't fail because the lawyers wrote it poorly. It failed because the person who signed it in one mental and emotional state became a fundamentally different person over time. No contract accounts for that. The clause assumed continuity. The person stopped being continuous. The most chilling part isn't that these clauses failed. It's that several were enforced exactly as written, and the outcome was still a disaster. Khloe's proxy authority was legally valid. Britney's Freedom Shield was properly filed. The law worked. The humans didn't. Every clause in this act was designed as protection. Every single one either failed, backfired, or revealed that what these contracts were actually about was never assets. It was human agency. Who controls your body, your freedom, your medical decisions? That's what gets buried in the fine print. To understand why these mechanisms exist at all, you have to go back to where the original template was built. Modern prenups didn't grow out of romantic caution. They are the direct descendants of a legal tool that Hollywood studios invented a century ago to protect something far simpler than love ticket sales. In 1930, the Motion Picture Producers and Distributors of America adopted the Motion Picture Production Code, known as the Hays Code, after Will H. Hays, who ran the organization that enforced it. Section 2 dealt specifically with sex and marriage, establishing what the industry called the sanctity of marriage. Studios weren't protecting the institution. They were protecting the audience's belief in it because that belief sold tickets. Did one of Hollywood's biggest leading men live inside a contractual prison for his entire career? The answer is yes, and the studio built it deliberately. The studios didn't just regulate what appeared on screen. They regulated what their talent did off it. Universal Pictures adopted the first formal morality clause in 1921, requiring actors to conduct themselves with what the contract called due regard to public conventions and morals. That language gave the studio the right to end a contract if an actor's personal life became a liability. It was insurance, not for the actor, but against them. Cary Grant and Virginia Cheryl's marriage in the early 1930s is one of the clearest examples of this prototype. A morality addendum attached to their arrangement functioned as brand insurance against scandal. That addendum is the direct ancestor of every lifestyle clause, sobriety floor, and persona provision covered in this video. Rock Hudson's case goes further. In 1955, Universal Studios arranged his marriage to Phyllis Gates, an employee of his talent agency. The tabloid magazine Confidential had been circulating rumors about Hudson's sexuality, and the studio needed a countermeasure. Universal wasn't planning a wedding. They were issuing a press release in human form. Phyllis Gates may not have fully understood the arrangement she was entering. Hudson had no meaningful choice. Two people were placed inside a legal and social contract specifically designed to protect one corporate asset, Hudson's box office value. The marriage lasted 3 years. The career protection lasted decades. Draw a straight line. Morality clause, Universal, 1921. Hays Code enforcement, 1934. Lavender marriage mandate, 1955. Modern lifestyle and persona clause, 2000s onward. The mechanism never disappeared. It privatized. It moved from studio contracts into prenuptial agreements. Enforcement shifted from studio executives to family court judges. But the underlying logic stayed identical. Control the private life, protect the public asset. Which brings us back to Tom Holland and Zendaya. Whether the pregnancy pause rumor is real no longer matters. What matters is that it sounds real, that audiences heard it and thought, yes, that's exactly what Hollywood does. That instinct is the legacy of 100 years of contractual control over human life. We've been trained to believe it because for a century, it was true. The studio system never ended. It privatized. The morality clause became the prenup. The studio mandate became the lifestyle penalty. The lavender marriage became the persona clause. Only the letterhead changed. So the next time a celebrity couple announces a quiet period, a career pause, a sudden retirement, ask whether that's love or a line item buried somewhere on page 47. If this investigation resonates, subscribe and explore the archival playlist below. The paper trail goes much deeper than this video, and the next case file is already open.